Hey there, welcome to the podcast designed to help salon and spa owners build, grow, and scale without the burnout. If you are tired of the hustle not matching the profit, you're in the right place. We are breaking down the strategies, leadership skills, and business systems that turn beauty businesses into profit powerhouses. Look, I am so glad that you've joined us today. We are both really excited because we have some really big news. We are rebranding. We are leveling up with some fresh ideas, deeper insights, and just a little bit more actionable coaching so that we can help you build a profitable salon or spa business without the burnout. The look and name may be changing just a little bit, but rest assured, our mission, it remains the same. It's helping you step into your CEO role and reclaim your freedom. So we're super excited about this. Stay tuned for some exciting updates, but for now, let's just jump into today's episode. So we just have to be real about the situation that we're going to talk about today. Salon chaos, it doesn't just happen. It builds over time. One minute everything seems fine. And then the next, you are literally playing referee between stylists, you're blindsided by a walkout, or maybe you're answering a 9 p.m. text from a client who suddenly needs to speak to the owner. And if it feels like the more you try to keep the peace, the more chaos follows, you are not just imagining it. I promise you, it's how it is. Chandra and I have both been there. Because when your business, when it runs on emotion instead of structure, this is going to happen. And burnout isn't just likely, it is 100% guaranteed. You built your salon on heart. I know if you're anything like Chandra and I, your heart went into anything and everything that you did. You want your team to feel supported. You want your clients to feel valued. But somewhere along the way, your boundaries slipped and your expectations blurred. And suddenly, your business feels like it's just a revolving door of drama more than a place of professionalism. So, today we're going to get real, we're going to get honest. If your salon feels emotionally exhausting, you might be unknowingly creating that chaos. Not because you don't care, but because no one ever taught you how to lead with policies, structure, and boundaries. So if you are tired of feeling like your salon is one meltdown away from just imploding, this episode is going to help you step into calm, confident leadership without losing your heart in the process. Chandra, do you think most salon owners realize they're contributing to the chaos, or does it usually come as a really big wake up call?
I think it comes as a big wake up call. I think they don't realize that they're probably the biggest contributor to that chaos. And they just keep going and going and going. And then bam, it just hits you. And now all of a sudden you're in it, a big mess.
For sure. What are some signs for you that maybe you saw that your salon needed more structure and less emotional energy management?
For me, the biggest things was that feeling that it was like out of control. Like I just felt like things were running crazy, not working the way that I wanted them to work, constantly stressed out about it. And that red flag feeling is just kind of not being in control anymore. And you just don't know what to do.
Yeah, and we see this as we coach a lot of salon owners. What would you say is one of the biggest red flags as we are coaching people that you tend to see?
I think that they think they have a great culture and they don't. And so I think that's a big red flag because as soon as we start diving into that coaching, we realize there's a lot of holes in what they're trying to build and create. And they don't know what to do or how they got there, but we can help them figure that out, right?
Absolutely. I was thinking back and I was thinking about one of our coaching intensive, and we worked with a owner who had just really hit her breaking point. Her stylist, they just pushed back on every single boundary. One had a full-blown breakdown in the break room after being told just to redo a service. Clients treated her personal phone like it was this customer service hotline. Worst of all, this owner felt trapped, like fixing it would either push people away or make things even worse. So, what we did is we started with one simple shift and we talked to her about structure. Within 2 weeks, she had a written boundary and behavior agreement for her entire team. She retrained her staff on communication expectations. She stopped answering client texts and redirected all messages to the salon's professional line. Was there pushback? 100%. Never going to lie to you guys. but the energy shifted instantly. Her team finally knew what was expected. The drama stopped feeding itself, and those who refused to respect the changes, they removed themselves. And that's the thing. When your business runs on clarity instead of chaos, people either rise to the standard or they leave. And that's not a loss. That is leadership. Chandra, have you seen this happen before besides this one incident where, just setting a few clear boundaries changed everything about the salon culture?
Yeah, I mean, almost every instance that we've worked with, honestly, like when we start putting that in place for those owners, it's unbelievable. And again, like you said, they do lose some team members sometimes, but their culture and their structure and everything starts to actually see growth. And it starts to get better once they put that structure in place. So almost every single time.
Why do you think owners feel so guilty about putting structure in place, even when, like, it clearly helps? There is no ifs, ands, or buts. It helps 1,000,000%. But why do you think they feel so guilty?
I think they're just afraid to enforce rules and they feel bad telling people if they're doing something wrong or if they're not falling in line with what the policies are. I think they're kind of afraid of it and I think they feel like people are going to leave or be mad, but you you can't feel guilty. I mean, it's part of being the owner.
And it's so sad that we just get so comfortable with the employees that we have. Yes, I love my team, don't get me wrong, but not everybody is meant to be there and be there for the long haul, in my opinion. Yet we get so attached to them, we end up making every decision and running our business based off of what's going to make them happy, not what's going to take care of us and our families for the long run. It's really, really sad. Salon chaos, it doesn't come out of nowhere. It happens when those expectations aren't clear, when those boundaries aren't reinforced, and it happens when leadership reacts emotionally instead of responding strategically. So if your salon feels like it's always one text away from a meltdown, because this is exactly how mine used to feel, here are some ways that you can stop putting out fires and start preventing them. Number one, you have to build out a framework for accountability. You can't run a business on verbal agreements and just good vibes. Never going to work. You have to have written policies that outline team expectations like attendance, lateness, guest policies, conflict resolution, communication rules. They should define how and when clients are able to contact you. There should be clear disciplinary steps so everybody, and I mean everybody, they know what happens if policies aren't followed. If you don't define expectations in writing, you are going to end up repeating yourself forever. Your job isn't to enforce rules, it's to set a clear standard so there is no room for confusion. Chandra, how do you set those clear standards in your studio?
We have a lot of ways I feel like that we set those standards, but definitely putting it in writing, training them, making sure that they understand exactly what every single piece of what's expected is documented, and then making sure they have access to that information at all times. Because I'm guilty of creating all these things, and then sometimes somebody will be like, "Well, I didn't know," and I'm like, well, I told you, right? But they didn't necessarily have access to everything that they needed to at the time. And so I think really making sure that all that stuff is fairly clearly given to them and that they know where they can find it and that they know they can come to you if they have questions or they need help because sometimes they're afraid to come to you and then they don't do a good job or they mess up because they're just too afraid to do that. So I think really making it easy for them as much as possible is really the best thing that helped me create that structure. And that's how we do it in my salon.
I love that. Number two is teach your culture. Don't just talk about it. Culture isn't just a feeling or a vibe, it's actually a code of behavior. We don't look at it that way very often, but I think that's a great way to put it. Warning signs of weak culture include maybe stylist or team people gossiping or complaining instead of communicating directly, new hires trying to just figure things out instead of being trained, and high performers getting away with bad behavior because they bring in the most money. The second that you excuse bad behavior because someone makes the salon money, You just put a price tag on your piece, and it is never, ever worth it. You have to set the expectation, reinforce it daily, and never trade culture for revenue. Chandra, how many salon owners have you seen trade culture for revenue over our years of coaching?
Gosh, again, almost all of them. There's a few that didn't, but I would say majority of salon owners feel held hostage by those high performers and they let them get away with stuff. And that's why their culture is got so many holes in it.
I've been guilty of it myself, not gonna lie. So there you go. Number three is set boundaries with clients like a CEO would. If clients have your personal number, they're going to use it. They're going to use it. It's not their fault. It's a boundary that you, as the owner, forgot to set. Client communication should flow through your salon phone line only, your booking system or your CRM, or your front desk if you have one. Never, 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 never your personal cell phone. A professional business should be accessible, but you shouldn't be. You have to put your client communication policy in every confirmation email and highlight it in your Instagram bio, on Facebook, everywhere, literally everywhere. Chandra, how do you go about your client communication policy in your studio?
Yeah, so it's exactly that. They have to call the salon, they have to talk to either the front desk or whoever's answering the phones. I none of my clients, I don't work behind the chair anymore, but none of my clients had my phone number, even though I was doing their hair for 25 years. And before I was the owner, I just didn't want them bothering me. It's creating that clear boundary. And so we only all communications have to go through the salon phone, whether it's through text or it's through phone call, however that works for you. But I think it lacks that professionalism too when you don't have that piece in place.
Yeah, definitely. And if there's any solos out there watching, get a business line. Get a separate business line. It's a tax write off, like 100% tax write off, and use it only during business hours. So if you want to make your phone business hours from 9 to 4 every day, Monday through Friday, do it. But do not use your personal phone whatsoever. All right, number four, have the hard conversations early and often. Avoiding conflict, it doesn't keep the peace. It just delays that explosion that you are eventually going to have. So you have to be sure that you are holding monthly one-on-ones so those concerns they don't just build up and pile up. You need to give clear feedback that's tied to your policies. So no vague you need to do better talks, right? They need to be very, very clear and tied to your policies. Hold everyone to the same standard. You cannot, you cannot have favorites, regardless of the situation. When feedback is routine, it never has to feel like it's a big deal. It just feels like part of your process. Okay, I want to talk about the favorites thing really, really quickly. That was not the point of that topic, but we find this happens quite often because as salon owners, a lot of us are behind the chair still. And so we work with certain individuals more than we do others. And what happens? We become besties, right? Or we get our favorites. It may be unintentional, but it does happen. Personalities mesh better, right? Like that's reality. How do you keep that from happening as a salon owner yourself?
It's kind of just setting that same boundary. Like you really have to keep that line in the sand of what's you're still the owner, you're still kind of up here and they're right below you. And so you can't put yourself on that same level with them. You can be friendly, be their friend, get to know them, but keep that professional line in the sand. I mean, I'm really good at doing that. Like I make sure I don't let get too involved in anything, but they know I'm there for them if they need me, right? But I still always keep that professional line because I've made that mistake before in the past and it definitely bit me.
Yeah, we say at BBA all the time, you can be friendly, but not friends. There's a big, big difference. All right, number five, stop being the emotional sponge. Stop it. You are not your team's therapist, regardless of what you think, you're not. You can support people and still hold them accountable. Leadership isn't about absorbing everybody's stress, it's about anchoring your business in structure. When you stay calm, when you're neutral, when you're consistent, your team is going to follow. Your calm actually becomes their compass. Chandra, this is one of my favorite things that I think we've seen as we have coached salon and spa owners is as they start leading and as they start building that structure, everything does just become a bit calmer. Sure, they're going to have their days, right? But it's not constant firefighter mode every second of the day. Have you noticed that as well as we've been coaching together?
Yeah, 100%. I think it definitely changes how they lead too because they're not as stressed.
Definitely. What's one area you think salon or spa owners overlook when it comes to setting clear boundaries?
I feel like there's a lot of different areas that they overlook with that one, but I think the biggest thing is really themselves, like following them and setting those clear boundaries. They over they kind of overlook their own rules most of the time, and I think that's why they have such a hard time getting their team to follow along and kind of get in line is they don't follow along with it themselves.
Yeah, I think you are a million percent correct on that. And once again, I have been guilty of that myself. And so I'm not judging anyone. I'm just saying, what I've been through, what I've coached you through, and what we've coached a lot of other people through too. Do you think team members, this is a big one to me because I feel like salon owners disagree with us here, but then in the end, they come to find out we were right. Do you think team members actually want more structure, even if they act resistant at first?
Oh, yeah. I think they love to have the structure, even if they don't seem like they want it. Soon as things start working the way they're supposed to, everybody's happier.
Yep. It's definitely true. And I say this all the time, when I'm coaching people, but we as humans, we crave rules. It's the way that we are made. Like rules start from the time you're born almost. And it's just something that we crave as human beings. And when we don't have them, we don't know what to do or how to act. And so a lot of times we act out. It's really, really interesting the way that that works. Okay, so we had a listener question that I wanted to address. And the question is, what do you do when your team is constantly complaining about things they should already know? I think this is a great question. If your team keeps acting confused, it's probably because your expectations they're not documented. So you need to create some sort of salon or spa playbook that outlines everything from booking policies to daily operations, I mean, everything. You want to review it monthly so that your policies stay fresh. I still, to this day, change mine at least once a quarter. There is something in there that I edit. You have to hold people accountable to exactly what is written in your playbook. Your business it's never too small for systems. It is probably struggling because it doesn't have enough of them. Chandra, have you ever dealt with a team that seemed confused, but it was really just leadership communication issues at the bottom of it?
Oh, yeah. I think we've dealt with that a lot in our coaching, and I've dealt with it myself personally before I implemented a lot of that stuff. We That's that chaos, that out of control feeling that you get when you don't have those things in place. And yeah, my team, when we started implementing it, there was growing pains for sure, but they they love it and they're big rule followers and they're always making sure I know they follow the rules. They're like, I did this, I got this done. Once you start putting that stuff in place, everything changes. And that's like for myself too. Like I've been there, we've been through all of those changes and it's been so much better now than it ever was.
I'm honestly shocked by the amount of salon and spa owners that don't have a handbook or a playbook, you can call it whatever you want to, but they just don't have it. Or they've had one that has been in place for 20 years. It's never been revised. And yes, you were one of them. It's never been revised. And they just expect people to read this 800-page, handbook or playbook without training and walking through and explaining and doing all of the things that you need to do. Look, if I was an employee and when I started coaching people, that's kind of how I always looked at it. I looked at it from all of my mistakes, but I also looked at it from an employee standpoint. I promise you, there were times I would not even work for myself. I wouldn't have read the handbook that I had for people without having some way to train on it and understand it and know it. There is no way, especially when people give it to you like your first day on the job and then you have to get to work and then you work every day after that, right? It just makes things really, really confusing. So definitely get that in place if you do not have it. Chandra, what's the best way to start with something like a handbook or a playbook?
I mean, just start documenting the things that you want your salon, how you want your salon or spa to run. Like, start putting those things down. How do you want these things to be handled from every aspect of, how they answer the phone, what rules you want to be followed, how you want them to treat the clients. Literally every single policy that you think that you want your salon to have, just start documenting it. It seems daunting and it seems overwhelming. Once you just start actually sitting down, taking your thoughts and being like, okay, this is how I want this to be done, just write it down and it's done. Then you just put it together in a book. And it's actually not as hard as it seems. But I think people get stuck because they're like, oh, there's just too much stuff to put in here. But you just start doing it and then it just kind of grows and it takes, comes into itself.
Yes. And once you get it created, utilize it. Don't just create it and have it sitting somewhere. Definitely utilize it. If your salon or spa feels like it is constantly on edge, it's not because you are a bad leader. I promise you. It's because no one really ever taught you how to lead with structure. And that's the way you have to lead if you want to be a real CEO. But it's never too late to change it. Boundaries aren't cold. Policies, they're not rigid. They are the foundation of a business that is going to be peaceful, professional, and profitable. Very, very profitable, but you have to have it. So if you are ready to step into leadership with clarity and finally build a business that supports you instead of draining you every single day, check out our coaching options at www.thebeautybizagency.com. You don't have to figure this out on your own. We are here to help you rewrite the story of your business from burnout to boundaries. All right, Chandra, what would you say to the owner that is listening right now who is scared to set boundaries because they don't want to come off as a big old fat meanie?
I think just pick one or two things to start with. Like, what is maybe one of the most big, like one of the biggest issues your company is dealing with that you're constantly putting out those fires? And just start with one or two things. Just start implementing it slowly and see how it starts to go, see how it starts to stick. And you'll see it will take on a life of itself and get easier. But don't feel like you got to blow up your whole company like immediately. Just start with one or two things and then go from there.
And my advice is going to be just a little bit different. I say, who cares if you're mean? It's your business, it's your vision, it's your risk. And sometimes we have to do the things that we have to do. Policies are not mean. Rules are not mean. They are there to protect not only you, but your business, your livelihood, and your team. So that's a wrap for today's episode. As always, thank you so much for being here with us. Make sure that you subscribe, share this with somebody who needs to hear it, and follow us on all platforms. Chandra, how do they connect with us?
Yeah, reach out to us at the Beauty Biz Agency on Instagram or Facebook, or you can also shoot us an email at beautybizadmin at thebeautybizagency.com.
All right, guys, now go out there, make bank, run the show, and ditch that chair. Until next time, keep slaying those business goals with a whole lot of swagger.